It's all about the real economy. 113,000. That is the number of new jobs the market is looking for in this month's US jobs report out later on today. An improvement on the August figure, but the unemployment rate could well creep up to 8.2%, still stubbornly high in this last jobs report before the presidential election, and an issue that's certain to dog Barack Obama on the campaign trail in the run-up to November 6th. Let's get straight to Fiona Cincotta, market analyst, City Index. Morning to you, Fiona. Fair to say this is going to have more impact on the presidential election than the market, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, the market's always going to be interested in this figure, but this is going to be the added complication of the presidential election coming up in the beginning of November means that this is going to have an added effect. So, I mean, what we're expecting here is perhaps any figures that could support the Romney camp could actually have a positive effect on the market, which would swing things around quite a lot from what we would normally expect.
So what, if we stay at 8.2% or even move up to 8.3%, is that a likelihood?
It is a likelihood that is a possibility. The figure apparently that's being thrown around is 8.4%. If we see anything over 8.4%, that could have a real detrimental effect on Obama. And therefore, you know, the markets would be quite interested in that. Up until now, he's managed to escape quite well some not so hot figures coming out from the jobs report. So it'll be interesting.
Over here in Europe, you worried that Spain's toying with 6% again?
It is a concern. I mean, the markets have been very patient with Spain. Ever since Draghi mentioned that he'll do whatever it takes, you know, the bond yields came down and we saw them stabilise because the markets thought no matter what happens, you know, Spain will request a bailout. They've been patient, and now time is running out again, and it looks like the markets aren't going to give Spain too much more. Even today, though, the Spanish finance minister is insisting that they do not require a bailout. So, you know, this is becoming quite a messy situation, and the markets aren't going to hang on forever here.
How convinced were you by what De Guindos, the finance minister, had to say yesterday? I mean, I know he got a little bit of laughter when he said they didn't need a bailout. What do you think?
Well, exactly. I mean, I think it's quite obvious that they do need a bailout. And I think the fact that they're playing their cards so close to their chest really doesn't give the markets any breathing space here. So, I mean, what we don't like to see is uncertainty. And the fact that they're keeping those cards so close and even denying things is creating that uncertainty that the markets don't like.
Quickly to finish up, what do you think is the biggest threat to the global economy right now? Europe, US, China?
Europe's been the forefront. It's been driving the markets this week. Obviously, with the presidential elections going in the US, I mean, usually presidential election year, you do have a positive impact on the market. So I think for that reason, it will be the focus sitting on Europe until we manage to sort this out and to make sure that we don't have contagion effect affecting, you know, Italy and other peripheral countries after this Spain has been sorted out. All
right. Thanks a lot, Fiona.
Thank you.
Big corporate news coming out of Asia this morning. Samsung racing to a record quarterly profit, $7.3 billion. Tara is in Hong Kong with this story. A sparkling number for Q3. Can they keep it up, Tara?
Well, that's a lot of smartphones, Samsung smartphones flying off the shelf, Axel. And basically it shows the popularity of the Galaxy and how many people are buying them. It's another profit for the company. But also it could show the impact of a huge marketing blitz campaign they had at the London Olympics. Some are estimated they spend over $2.5 billion marketing that smartphone. Now, going ahead, people say there are some headwinds for Samsung. One, can they keep rolling at this pace, especially as the smartphone market gets more and more crowded? We've got the iPhone 5 now and all sorts of appliances out there. Plus, there's litigation costs that Samsung's going to have to pay in all of the court cases it's got going with Apple. And staff are going to need to get some money from all the success that Samsung has had. So the next quarter might look a little rocky.
OK. We haven't talked about the China-Japan territorial dispute for a while. Having some impact on the corporate side as well, right?
Yeah, I think it's been quiet this week just because China's been out on a week-long holiday. But basically, Toyota posted some really weak September sales numbers in China. Their sales were down by about 40%. And this is a stark reminder that business there is really being hit by those Sino-Japan tensions. To add to that, other car makers like Hyundai and BMW, their sales are actually rising in China in the month of September. So going forward, people are quite worried about what this could mean for the profits of car makers like Toyota and also Nissan. This is the world's biggest car market. market. They've been betting on this for profits, and it is a bit of a worrying sign for other major Japanese companies out there. This story will start to rev up again, by the way, next week when China comes back from holiday. So we'll keep an eye on that, Axel.
All right. Have a good weekend, Tara. Thanks.
Thanks.
Top world news story on Reuters this morning. The UN Security Council condemns the mortar attack by Syria, which killed 5 people in a village in Turkey. The UN is demanding an end to violations of international law in a rare display of unity. The statement comes after Russia rejected an initial draft, Moscow having earlier called for both sides to show restraint. In sport, the NHL has been forced to cancel the first 2 weeks of the hockey season in the US over a seemingly intractable dispute with locked-out players, owners and teams arguing over how to divide a $3.3 billion revenue pie. 82 games so far will have to be rescheduled. Our picture of the day shows Sri Lanka's Dilshan in action in Colombo as the hosts of the 2020 Cricket World Cup powered their way to the final, eliminating arch rivals Pakistan. Sri Lanka will face either Australia or the West Indies in Sunday's final. And finally, it's Global James Bond Day, with events taking place around the world to mark the 50th anniversary of the franchise. Former Bond girls, seen here, have been back in front of the cameras, remembering their glory days with 007. One of the most enduring images, of course, Ursula Andress emerging from the sea in her white bikini in Dr. No, the very first in the series.